It's time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi and Dan Rosenberg, because it's now time for Clutch Radio. The show starts now.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Saturday, August 21st, 10 a.m., right here on Clutch Radio with Raffi and Dan. We're live after our first rerun episode ever last week.
How did that go? How did we do?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
I didn't watch either.
I saw it already. But yeah, there's a great way that we can play older episodes. We just click a button, but hopefully we don't have to do that too often. But we had a good reason last week.
Yeah.
Because young Raffi was in Monterey at Concord De Elegance.
Yes, I was. The event of the year, which had been canceled in 2020 due to, of course, the pandemic. And so there was no 2020 Pebble Beach, which is pretty unprecedented. It's a show that's been run annually for 70 years. So they celebrated the 70th year this year in 2021. And of course, it was every bit the spectacle that it is every year. There were amazing automobiles from all over the world. And I was fortunate to be able to not only attend, but to be a judge for the third time in my career. And I judged the Pininfarina pre-war coach-built class. So there were cars that were designed by the coach builder Pininfarina. So we had Alfa Romeos, we had Lancias. There was a special coach-built Cadillac that was there, and that was
Alante. They had the Alante.
No, a little earlier than that.
That was like pre-Gulf War.
Yes, there you go. But in addition to the fabulous cars that were there, they had a gathering of, I think there were 20 previous best of show cars at Pebble Beach. So normally at any Pebble Beach show, they'll award one car best of show. So you'll get to see that one car. But this year you got to see best of show and 20 previous best of show cars. So wow. It was like being at the museum of the best of the best. So quite exciting. Got there at 5:30 in the morning. So the sun was just coming up, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the world on the Pacific Coast, Pebble Beach Golf Course, the area overlooking the ocean, and cars quietly rolling in on the green and setting up. It's a long day of deep automotive saturation and beauty and elegance and all that.
And of course, it's the Elegance.
Yes, it's very elegant.
So it's literally on the golf course.
It literally is on the golf course. It's on the green, and they have it there annually. And I'm sure they have to do a lot of maintenance afterwards.
Yeah.
But
a lot of divots to worry
yes, about. Yeah. But they encouraged the spectators to wear high heel shoes to do the lawn aeration to save some money.
Oh, so you had your stilettos on?
I did. I wore my stilettos. Yes. Judging stilettos.
How many cars were in your division that you had to judge?
So originally there were 8 cars that were scheduled to show up. And 3 of them sadly dropped out because they were unable to secure the proper documentation to travel from overseas. Oh. And this has happened a couple of times, including the owners who cannot get permission due to COVID restrictions. So if you're going to bring your car to Pebble Beach, you probably want to come with the car and bring your family and all that. So if that was something that they couldn't do, I think they elected to pass this year. So we ended up with 5 cars, 4 of which were judged, which was a smaller.
The 5th one was like, don't judge me.
Yes. The 5th one says, I want to be on display, but I will not be judged. And that's the prerogative of the owner. And Pebble Beach is always very very good about that. They said, please, if you want to bring your car, it only makes the field look better. and we always encourage that.
So would they choose not to be judged because they saw the other four and they're like, there's no way we can win, so let's just not lose?
It's not made clear what other vehicles are going, but you oftentimes do hear that other vehicles are going to be there. Most owners will decide to not have their car judged, or decide that they don't want judging, simply because they want to bring the car, expose the car, talk with people about perhaps what they can do to improve it, meet potential restoration experts that might want to work on the car. Also, sometimes people will bring a car that they have shown at Pebble Beach within the past decade, and they just simply want to bring it again. And it might, for example, match one of the classes, and it's very nice to have the car there on display to participate in that class. If your car has been shown at Pebble Beach and won over the past decade, then they discourage you from bringing it again, just simply because they want to have fresh vehicles on the lawn that people have not seen, newly restored cars that may have been hidden for many years, that sort of thing.
And how much value does it add to a car? Obviously, if it wins, it adds a ton of value. But just to have been there, does that add value to the car as well? Like, is there a certificate you get that proves you were there? I guess you have pictures, but
well, there's you don't get a certificate necessarily, but you do get your acceptance letter, and you do get various other documents that come with it. And absolutely, it adds to the value. To say that your vehicle was accepted at Pebble Beach is it's very important, because it's an exclusive show. The show itself only accepts cars that are unique, or have some unique distinctions, or a collective of unique features that make it unusual, whether an unusual body, a one-off coach-built car with unusual engineering, unusual design. And of course, most of the cars that are there, they are either amazing restorations, or they are unbelievably preserved cars that have never been restored and still retain the original finishes. So there's an entire class dedicated to celebrating the preservation. That's the preservation class, and these are cars that you can see from the teens and 30s sometimes. Wow. They're all original, never been restored, and it's quite unusual to see those cars drive onto the field.
Yeah, and our good friend Ray says he should have brought his 05 Spider.
Yes,
to Pebble Beach. Very rare, and that way he doesn't have the table blocking it anymore. He can take it out whenever he wants now.
Yes, it will be a while before the 05 Spider will be admitted to Pebble Beach. Most of the cars that are there competing on the lawn, they're going to be anywhere from 30 to 50 years old. There are some classes. Eventually, I believe there will be a Japanese class. So there'll be a class for cars, specialty cars built in Japan. That may be a class that they'll encourage in the coming years. There have been American performance classes. There's been a class for hot rods, vintage hot rods. There's been American custom coach built class. So they've done a good job of expanding more than just the classic cars, or expensive vintage Ferraris, for example. And it's also, the Pebble Beach event is on Sunday, where it's sort of the culmination of the end of the entire week they call the Monterey Car Week. And during that week, you have the races on Saturday, you have Concorso on Friday, you have the Pebble Beach Tour on Thursday. And the tour is very interesting because that's where all entrants to Pebble Beach drive 17-mile drive. And that event occurs on Thursday. And when you complete that event, you get a green ribbon. And when you show your car on Sunday, you put the green ribbon on the car so that people know, including the judges, that your car completed the Pebble Beach Tour. Now, in the event of a tie in points between two cars, if one of the cars completed the tour and the other one did not, then the car that completed the tour will get the advance to the award ahead of the tie.
Wow. I guess that means because the other one might not have been able to drive 17 miles.
That's right.
It overheats at 2, so they're like, all right, well,
exactly. And really, even though Pebble Beach is about the elegance and presence of the vehicle, it's important that these cars actually function and serve the purpose for which they were designed. The other thing that the cars need to do, and this is always interesting, they need to be able to cross the award ramp on their own power. So if you start your car to go and advance to the staging area where they announce the top 3 winners, and your car stalls and cannot start, and you cannot get it to start, and you cannot get it to cross the award platform to get the award, the 4th place car will take your place, and the other cars will advance to 1st and 2nd. And that has happened before.
wow.
At Pebble Beach this year, the car that was awarded 1st place in my class stalled while it was waiting to go to the ramp. And the owner, who was also the restorer and very capable with this car, realized immediately he had run out of fuel.
Oh, geez.
So the staff very quickly, everybody was there to help him, open it up, put the fuel in, pouring gas in. He turned the key and got it started, and off he went up to the ramp to get his award. So for a moment, there was a little bit of tension on the green at Pebble Beach.
And the 2nd place guy was like, oh, and I had to siphon that gas out for nothing. Got the taste of gas in my mouth. I'm guessing the cars, they don't keep, with a full tank, probably, because while shipping and everything, you probably just want to have enough gas to do your movement.
You're right. And that's another one of the challenges is as well as getting gasoline that's appropriate for these cars, because you can't just go to the local Chevron and fill up with unleaded that has loaded ethanol in it. You need to have, for many of these cars, they need to run on leaded fuel, premium leaded fuel, and an ethanol inhibitor, so that it doesn't negatively impact the performance of the engine.
So Adam would love to know, I guess when he says, I'm eager to hear who won worst car, I'm guessing he's talking about Concord De Lemon.
Yes, the Concord De Lemon is held Saturday, the day before the event at Pebble Beach. And that's an event that I have judged in the past. I did not judge it this year, so I don't know what the results are. But Dan, maybe you can determine what those results are. They usually announce them.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find them, but I'm seeing some pictures. I'm not sure if these are this year's, because I don't see. Oh wait, there's a guy in a mask. Oh, these are this year's.
Okay.
Because if they're wearing a mask, it can't be.
Yeah, there you go.
Or else they're a time traveler.
So on Saturday they have the Concord De Lemon, and they invite lemons from all over the county to come and participate. And unlike Pebble Beach, where we wear a blue blazer and khaki slacks and a tie, the judges are instructed to wear a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. Now, here's one particular entrant, and you can see that the owners are encouraged, like at Pebble Beach, to dress according to the vintage of their car. So this owner has done a rather fine impression of Richard Simmons, who I believe did own that car or had one of those cars. So there's.
You get slightly better than a go-kart is one of the awards you can win.
Yes.
Driving on a prayer.
Yes. There are, in fact, one year the Driving on a Prayer award went to a Pinto wagon that was formerly owned by a church.
Let's get ready to crumble. What a great.
Yes.
Oh, it took me the wrong place. All right, here we go. Let's go back and see some of these other cars.
There you go.
And there's always part of the bribery, I think.
Yes, there's always
supposed to bribe the judges.
Bribery for the judges, and in this particular instance, the judges are encouraged to come by and remove certain bribed items or bribery items. You can see that cars are really celebrated for rust here. When I did the judging, we gave extra points for holes that had rusted all the way through.
Wow.
I don't even know what
a
that
boat.
is. Yeah. So there's quite a mix of cars that show up. This is, I believe, a scooter of some sort or a motorcycle. So you'll see a lot of strangely put together cars. Yeah, here you go. There's yeah.
It looks like a Subaru of some sort.
We're not sure what it was, but what it is now is unusual. That's, I believe, an escargot. And there are a lot of small Japanese cars that show up here. Just to show the variety, you can see there's a Toyota Sport 600, I think, or 800, I can't recall, Toyota Sport in the background. And here you can see this is oftentimes they'll adorn the hood with offerings for the judges. One year I got Twinkies that they were expired Twinkies. They made sure that they were expired, that they were using to judge.
But do they ever really expire?
No, but these were pretty hard.
Now, Adam also asked about celebrities bringing their cars out. Did you see Jay Leno?
Jay is typically at the show. I did not see him this year at the show, but other people that I've seen when I've been there, Nicolas Cage has showed up. He's had quite a few collector cars, including a Bugatti that he brought, I believe he brought to Pebble Beach. Of course, Jay Leno is a regular and often comes out and does some MC work for Pebble Beach. All of the money, by the way, that's raised during the show goes to the Pebble Beach charities, and there's a series of charities that benefit tremendously from several $1 million over the years that have been raised to help these various charities. So other actors and actresses have been at Pebble Beach. There's always sightings of musicians, people that come that enjoy cars that just want to participate in the spectacle. Well-known musicians show up there. One year, I think a couple years ago, two rappers and their entourage were there gathering some attention. But it's a variety of people that show up, and a very wealthy group of people do converge at Pebble Beach, and it's always fun to see them do battle on the green, because ultimately, even if you spend a lot of money restoring your car, it comes down to whether or not it was done correctly, and that's always fun to see what the results are, regardless of your wealth. Cars have that have been restored by individuals that trailer them in by themselves. They don't have a crew of people, and they compete against millionaires, and sometimes they win.
Like I said before on our last show when we were driving around in the Saab, I really think there's a movie here, kind of like Best of Show or Best in Show, like a Christopher Guest type mockumentary.
Sure.
But to actually do it during the show, like not to make a fake show, like to do actually, attach to somebody that has a car that really could make it, and then follow them through, but make, have fake characters, and then also have, like the brother only gets in Concord De Lemon. And so you have the two storylines happening at the same time.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And then you've got the third brother who just wants to play golf. He's like, come on, get off the green. Trying to play through here.
Trying to play through.
So I was in Los Angeles, and I drove by a very cool place, but I did not have time to go in. And that, of course, is the Peterson Automotive Museum, which I'm not sure what the design is exactly, but it's pretty wild when you're driving down the street and you see that.
Yeah, it's very eye-catching, and this was redesigned some years ago, and before it was pretty much a nondescript building, sort of mixed in with the rest of the architecture. But this is a very stunning building, and it catches your attention. And I think that's important, particularly because as buildings go, oftentimes they're designed to blend into the urban landscape, and this sort of speaks to the uniqueness of a car standing out against other cars on the road. And that's what the Peterson Museum is about. They celebrate the automobile as a cultural element, and this sort of intersecting mass of stainless steel roadways and peeking through to see the ribbon or the red inside there. It's reminiscent of, you know, the organic wheels and the red inside for the brakes and that sort of thing. And it does inspire sort of that speedy, energetic lifestyle that's typical to Southern California. So I think it's suitable. Once you're inside the building, it's very different. It's not like this at all. And I highly recommend the Peterson Museum because it's more than just a car museum. It talks a lot about the car and culture and how cars impacted the urban landscape, not just in Southern California, but all over the world.
What I loved of the old one, we had my son's 4th birthday there. They had like a party room upstairs, and they had like this. When you first came in and did like the walking tour, they had this area that was like back in time. I mean, it was like an old car dealership facade, and they had like the old showroom, and they had like a little garage. That's sadly was gone. At least it was last time I was there. But it is an amazing. I wish I would have had time the other day to go in and, you know, take a quick tour, but sadly I didn't. And construction wise, it's going to get a lot more traffic soon because you see those construction signs there. They're building a subway underneath Wilshire.
That's right.
So the subway is actually you're going to be able to go throughout LA and pop up there.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of one of the stops, I think, right over between the building there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty exciting. Now, Ray has a question in the comments here, and I don't know if it's probably going to block our faces when I post this one. Yeah, pretty much. It's a lot there. Not sure if Raffi saw the sell-off in car manufacturer stocks and Toyota announcement of closure of plants. The chip shortage will cause this new depletion for at least 3 to 4 years. People keeping their current cars and newer used cars were made at very elevated prices. Demand for new cars will be very high, just as housing is for the foreseeable future. Also expect rental car prices to remain very high, possibly buy the IPO Turo. Oh, a little stock advice. I believe they will be a very strong player. And then he says he actually ran out of letters.
So Ray makes an excellent point. Yes, I was aware of it, and it is interesting. Look, the reality of automobile manufacturing on a global scale is that the competition for volume manufacturing has never been higher than it is right now with China. China is making millions of automobiles, and they are leading in volume production throughout the world. Now, the extent to which China is able to manufacture cars without being impacted by the chip shortage, we won't know for some time as we look at statistics for manufacturing over 21 and into 22. But there's no doubt that what has happened in terms of supply chain and deliverables is going to forever change the way automobile companies work. What we may see in the coming years to alleviate this problem is the return of domestic manufacturing or local manufacturing to fulfill requirements for not just automobiles, but cell phones and other appliances. We may also, into the deep future, see consolidated manufacturing at dedicated manufacturing zones where you get a consortium, like, for example, a NATO of manufacturing that would allow universal manufacturing under country guidelines so that everyone is supplied fairly and there's no supply shortages, and the market then can decide what they want in terms of the vehicles themselves. Or we may see just extended problems associated with delivery of product on a worldwide level. The automobile is such a complex assembly of components now that so many of the main systems are dependent on subsystems. So in the case of, for example, chips, you really don't have a vehicle that works unless you've got those chips working.
Well, General Motors has a plan. They're going to come out with the Chevy Beretta again. And that way there's no chips. No,
yes.
But I mean, that would be a solution is, hey, let's figure out what chips we don't need.
Well,
And
yeah.
or find a new supplier. And a lot of people have been asking me about this. They're like, what's up with the cars? What's up with the cars? When I was just in LA, I kept seeing truckload after truckload of new cars being delivered, like wrapped. So there are definitely cars being built, and the shortage happened, like you were saying, because a lot of manufacturers thought, okay, this pandemic's happening, we're not going to sell any cars. Let's cut our losses early and cancel these potentially billion-dollar sale or orders of chips. So that some of the chip manufacturers said, all right, we're going to focus on refrigerators and cell phones and other things. And other manufacturers, some of them had issues where they went under or they laid off employees and they can't get them back. And hopefully we can start getting some chip manufacturing happening here, which will probably be more expensive, but might be better quality and might also make it so, some of the cars can be shipped sooner. And I heard that Ford is doing a thing where they're going to start shipping some cars without certain features that the dealer will then install once the chips are available.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy to think that you might get your car and it's like, okay, your navigation and your radio don't work. You only have AM and FM. There's no XM. There's no, no Sirius XM. There's no navigation until we get this module we can put in. Or make it so it's not even an option. Like they're making so many things standard now. We might start seeing crank windows.
Well, keep in mind that you can have a vehicle with all of the general amenities that you have in, power steering, power brakes, all of that, electric windows, air conditioning. You don't need sophisticated computer chips to control all of that because we've had all of that in cars
right.
Without those. The problem with contemporary automobile manufacturing is that everything is built into one main module, and that module has 5 or 6 dependent or critical electronic features to run everything. And if you remove that, your vehicle is just dead weight. Now, Ford has shipped thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of vehicles without their chips. And they've instructed the dealers to install them when the chips become available. Well, that's got some challenges in and of itself. And I think there's going to be some interesting supply and demand issues that occur in that regard. But clearly what we're seeing and what we will continue to see is an increase in values and prices for existing vehicles. And I suspect you may even find chip theft, something that will be coming in the years to come if the problem continues.
Well, I had an issue with my Polestar last week. We haven't had a show in time to talk about it. I went out to the car one morning, and the key that comes with it, which is ridiculously big and ugly. I'm not sure why they didn't make it it's just the same as a Volvo key. It's not like a cool key. Although it does also come with this little one that we've talked about before, which is just there's no buttons on it. There's nothing to do with it. You can't even change the battery, but it's waterproof. So if you go swimming and you put it in your trunks, you don't have to worry about, hiding your key in your shoe. But you can go up to the car and it works. So I go to my car, I get in and it says keys not present. I'm like, oh, and I look and I'm like, what? It's in my pocket. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm holding it up and key not present. So I grab another key not present, grab another key not present. So I'm like, great, my car's dead. Like I'm sitting in it, it comes on, like the screen comes up, everything's there, key not present. And then I noticed that the LTE, the 4G, the signal that it has, it's got a big X on it. It's not getting a signal. And so then I try to go into Wi-Fi and it can't find any Wi-Fi. So, all right, there's something, first in my head, there's something wrong with the antenna that controls the Wi-Fi and probably has something to do with the keys. So I go online and I find that if you put your key, if you lay it in the second cup holder, I know this sounds weird, but that's the key reader. So you know how in some cars, if you've got one of a fob, you can stick it in somewhere and it actually can read it without. Well, you lay it in the thing. Now I can drive my car. So the car drives fine. I can't get I can't get it to lock with the key. The remote doesn't work. I go online again. And again, there's, I don't know, 3,500 of these cars total in the United States right now, if that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very small footprint so far. And I'm freaking out because I'm like, we don't have a service center here yet. And then it turns out we do. And this guy that I'd met on Facebook, who also bought a car the same week I did from the Seattle area, and he went down to California like I did. He's like, oh, I was their first customer on Monday. They're open at Toyota, at the Volvo dealer in Tacoma. They're the Bellevue, for some reason, Polestar dealer. And I got an appointment for the next day. And I went in, and they could not figure out how to log into my car. They wired in, wasn't working. And it turns out there's a thing called the T-Cam, which is the big shark fin on the top of the car. It's not for Sirius XM on mine. It doesn't even have satellite radio. But the antenna was not communicating, and that does control the remotes and the LTE and the Wi-Fi. And there's a backup battery in it that apparently the car sat at the port for so long before I got it, the backup battery had died. And the car is supposed, that thing has to always be on, because even if the car is off or you're in an accident, it has to be able to send an SOS signal. Like you have to be able to click your OnStar type thing, even if the battery gets disconnected. That's all it was. And they went in. It took them a few hours. Service was fantastic. The guy that's their service technician, the local guy, fantastic, smart guy. Seemed like more of a computer guy than a mechanic, because that's really what he had to be. And he said something. I said, when I left, I said, well, his name was Kyle. I said, well, Kyle, I'll probably never see you again, but thanks. Because I'm not going to need brakes. And he said that brakes are almost a thing of the past in all of the Volvo hybrids. Yeah. Because it does regenerative braking. Yep. And he's like, you probably will have 90% brakes at the end of your lease at 39 months. Your brakes are, and I realized I never used my brakes. That's right. And when I realized it is as soon as I got into my rental car in California,
you had to use your brakes.
Because like you said, don't get too used to the auto steering and the staying in the lane. Yeah. And this kind of ties into what Adam just commented in the comments, was that he's been trying to get a rental car on the weekends for 2 months and every place is out. Yep. And I had a rental car experience. Well, that day, even when I dropped my car off, I said, "You guys have loaners?" He said, "Well, we use Enterprise for rentals. They don't have any. Like, I have nothing to give you." And luckily, my company has an office near there. And one of my coworkers, Aaron, thank you very much, Aaron, came and picked me up. I went to work, and then he drove me back when my car was done. But Enterprise had no cars. And when I went to California, I was going to do a rental from one airport to another. I was going to fly into one and leave out of another, and it was like $1,500. Yeah. And then I did the same airport, and it was like $500.
Yeah. Well, I had my rental car for, I want to say day and a half, almost 2 days. And when I was down at Pebble Beach, and it was $400. So, and the interesting thing is, there people that are going to Hawaii, they want a rental car, and what they're recommending is that they rent U-Haul trailers, the moving vans, because they're actually cheaper, and there's plenty of them available.
But parking is
driving around Hawaii, tourists driving around
20 foot trucks,
and Penske moving trucks.
So there is Turo, Turo, which is like the Airbnb of rental cars. You can put your own car up. And there are people in Hawaii who will just rent their personal car, and for $500 a day sometimes, because people really need cars. Yeah. So I had a really good experience. I do want to share. Budget Rent-A-Car, not a sponsor by any means, but Budget is also Avis, is also Payless. They're all the same company.
That's right.
And I show up at the Burbank airport, and there's just one guy behind the counter, and he's wearing an Avis patch, but he's sitting at the Budget counter, and then Payless is right there, and they're all right together. And I'm a member of their Fast Break, which you're supposed to show up and their names on a board, and it wasn't working apparently. I gave my name. He goes, "All right, I got a car for you. You want a Camry or a Malibu?" And I was like, "You got anything more fun?" Because I'm thinking he's going to try to upgrade me.
Sure.
He's like, "I got a Mustang." He goes, "It's only a 4-cylinder, but it's a turbo. You want that?" And I go, "Okay, I'll do a Mustang." Yeah. And I'm waiting for it'll be $13 extra a day. Nothing. He just hands me. He goes, "All right, it's in space D26. Go upstairs." So he didn't charge me any extra, which was nice. I get to the car, spotless, 2020 or 2021 maybe, a silver Mustang, not a GT, but leather, all the amenities. Sirius XM, which they usually charge extra for, was included. It was a really nice car, and they didn't try to push anything on me. Like, they weren't trying to sell me the extended warranty or the insurance or the fuel option, which I actually wanted to do the fuel option. And I realized when I got gas yesterday before I left, I probably could have driven it in and died in the return lane. I had 36 miles to go when I put gas in. So I was so close, and I was 20 miles from the airport.
Yeah.
But I still filled it anyway. And gas is so expensive down in California.
Oh my goodness.
Unless you do E85. The E85 was only $299.
Oh my
You have
goodness.
a flex fuel car.
Oh, I filled up. It was $4.70 where I had to fill up, $4.70. And luckily the car I was driving did not require a lot of gas. It only needed 10 gallons, but it was $47 for gas. I filled the car up, and I'm watching some guy next to me. He's got this giant truck. And I said, "How much did you just put in?" He goes, $133. I said, "Geez, that used to be my car payment." He goes, "I know." He says, "Thankfully, I'm using it for work, so I make the money back. At least I think I do." So,
yeah. Well, we might as well do this real quick then.
How much is gas where you live?
So we're going to talk about gas prices real quick.
yeah, let's do it.
I was impressed because I don't see E85 stations around here.
No, they're not that many.
Flex fuel, and it was $1.50 cheaper per gallon.
I think it's a California. They're doing a lot of them in California.
Yeah.
So, and I think the stations get incentivized by the government to have it available, and I believe the price is more aggressively controlled.
But yeah, I was thinking of putting it in the Mustang because I'm like, it's a rental car. What do I care? But I didn't. But I also thought, I remember the time I rented a Lincoln Navigator and they wanted 92 octane, and I'm like, A, it's a rental, and B, it gets like 8 miles a gallon. I'm not putting the good stuff in.
Oh man.
But Ray does talk in the comments about IPO. Turo is going to be doing an IPO. They're going to go public. His friend Jeff is making a killing. Has 3 cars on Turo.
Yeah.
But he would do better if he lived closer to the airport. People have to Uber to his home in Tacoma to get the car, and then Uber back to the airport.
Well, look, it's a smart model. You're using your vehicle, and if you have extra vehicles, or if you have vehicles in a fleet, Dan, when you ran the rental car company, you could have Turo'd half your fleet.
And they were called Ready Rides or Relay Rides before they changed the name to Turo, which I thought was a lawnmower company. But before they changed their name, they contacted us because they weren't getting enough people that were willing to give their cars up. And so they basically said, hey, you're a rental car company. Would you list your cars on our site? And we'll get you, guaranteed. And it's our insurance while it's on rental. It's not your insurance.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever did it. We never had either. In the peak times, our cars were already rented. Like, we might have put a couple of the Malibus up that we had, but the car rental business would work here again on Bainbridge, I think, if I could have a fleet only from May to September.
That's the problem, is you have to infrastructurally hold on. You have to make so much money to carry it through the year. And that's typical of most tourist destination locations. But, I think more and more, the ride share option is going to be something that cars are going to be bought under. You won't really own a car anymore as much as you own opportunities for use. This model has been prototyped a few times, and it's very successful with young people who only need a car, let's say 20% of the time. So they indent the use in the week. I need the car for Friday and Saturday only. And so they're able to get access to that vehicle, and it's a familiar vehicle. So they purchase that car on a lease basis for 20% use. And All the insurance is covered. The vehicle arrives with fuel in it if it needs fuel, and all the maintenance and services are covered in the agreement. And it's effectively like using your cell phone. You only pick it up when you need it. You only use it when you need it, and the rest of the time it doesn't. The storage and the costs don't impact you.
Right. And with Turo, there was Zipcars, which they're still around, but they were like the first car share where you had a subscription and they had special spaces around the city where you could park. Right. You could only park in those spaces, and that's only where you could find the cars. And then places like I'm forgetting the names right, Cars to Go and Reach Now,
yes,
which then merged and then went out of business. And there's one now called Gig, that is funded by AAA actually, and they are here in Seattle, and they rent Priuses, and they're a car share. But because of the pandemic, a lot of people were afraid. You don't want to get in a strange car because everybody thought, if you touch anything, you can get COVID.
Right.
And now that they're realizing it's more about inhaling COVID, it's got to get in your throat and in your nose. Just touching things isn't as bad. Like even when at the hotel I was at, they had valet, and I would, as soon as I got in the car from the valet, and their valets are masked up and they're wearing gloves, but I rolled the windows down. I still had my mask on. I wiped the wheel down. I wiped the door handle. I wiped the gear shifter down, because I don't know if somebody moved my car while during the night. They might have moved it around. Who knows? But I still did that, and I drove almost my first mile with the windows down and my mask still on, just to kind of blow everything out. And I rolled the windows up, took my mask off, and went on my trip. And I successfully spent 5 days in Los Angeles, including 2 flights, and took a COVID test last night when I got home, and was negative. So it was exciting to.
There you go.
To have made the trip without catching anything.
Yeah. Well, back to gas prices.
Oh yeah, sorry. Back to gas prices.
That's right. Let's see. I'll go with lowest gas price for regular unleaded. I'll go with Missouri. We'll do that.
All right, you're saying Missouri for the lowest regular?
I was going to do Mississippi, but I'm going to go Missouri.
You should have done Mississippi.
Are they the lowest?
278.5.
Okay. And my guess was going to be 280, so it's still under 280.
Now this one is Missouri was 285.5. They're 5th this week.
5th. Okay.
The cheapest diesel in the country is also Mississippi. Cheapest premium in the country is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, cheapest premium. Okay.
Mississippi's 3rd in premium, and they're first in the mid-grade. Very weird.
Yeah. Now at 278, I think the national average is 290. Is that right?
316 right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So in California, what's the price of fuel? If 316 is the average, it must be 390.
California's 439.6 for regular.
So you're paying $1 plus more per gallon, and on a 20-gallon car, that's $20 every time you fill up more. And over time, you can see how that adds up. If you use a vehicle that does not get very good gas mileage, the additional $25 each time you are filling up per gallon, it adds up quickly.
Yeah, it's insane how much gas is. And there's reasons for it, but there's also, I'd like to see the balance sheet of the oil companies, because I think they're just preparing to lose their subsidies, and so they're jacking up all the prices.
That could be. The other thing that could be at play here is that, electricity is still very inexpensive. And the reason why is because it's used widely for everything else, and gasoline is not. It's used in a lot of applications, but nothing like electricity. So what we can look forward to is electric prices, the cost of electricity going up.
Yeah. And Ray shared a picture with me. That's an auction purchase he made the other day.
Ah, very nice.
He bought it for $10,500, but with the auction fees, it was $11,105. So he paid $605 in auction fees.
That's a lot.
And he said the auctions are charging crazy money now because they have fewer cars going through.
Yeah.
So they have to make up their money somehow.
Yep.
And it's unreal what's happening. Adam sees a thing called Fluid, but he doesn't know what they rent. Fluid only rents trucks, and they're basically renting them to Amazon drivers.
Oh, there you go.
So you see Fluid truck rental all over the place, and they just do. They're like a ride share for just trucks. So you go in the morning, you pick up your Fluid truck, you go to the Amazon place, they load it, because a lot of those most Amazon drivers are independent contractors. It's like their own business, and Amazon gives you a truck. That's like part of it. You get your own business. You rent the truck from Amazon. They can't get the trucks. Yeah. And this Fluid, showed up. Like I had an Amazon delivery the other day. They showed up in a Penske truck.
Yeah.
A big yellow Penske truck, because they just get whatever they can find.
I had a delivery show up the other day. It was a husband and wife in a blue Subaru. They had the back filled with packages, and they're just driving around delivering packages.
Or they're stealing them off the porches, or who knows what they're doing.
That could be.
But yeah, so Adam, try Turo. You might be able to find a weekend car with Turo. And the reason I like Budget, I'll give Budget a plug here, because they do have, the service was really good. The car was a great deal. I got an upgrade without any pressure. And I get a 10% Amazon gift card, whatever your rental fee was. So if you have a $300 rental, after you're done, you get a $30 Amazon gift card.
Oh, that's a good deal.
If you do it through Amazon Prime, that's like the Amazon rental car. And the rate was cheaper, way cheaper by doing it through Amazon than doing it on their website, even as a member with the member discount. So if you remember Amazon Prime, there's a little tip for you. Use Budget Rent a Car if you need to rent a car. Adam, you might want to even try that. There might be a budget near you.
Yeah, you never know. The one of the things that we've discovered, particularly over the past 2 years, is people have started to be much more inventive and clever about how to maximize business opportunities during COVID. And I think we're seeing some of the spill off of that. People are much more open to trying a lot of new things and things out of the ordinary, getting outside the box of typical fulfillment strategies. And speaking of outside the box, I had an email from a friend that said, when you do your car show, your old school vehicles are always two-door or convertible or smaller cars. Can you old school an older sedan that would be usable for a family, not an expensive one, but something stylish that would have 4 doors? So that's what I'm going to do today when we go old school.
Well, I guess we should go old school right now.
I love that. Shout out to Eric for doing that for me.
Yes.
All right. So this week's old school is a car you may or may not remember, but a car that was pretty revolutionary during its time. It was designed in the early 90s, and it came out in 1994. And this was very unusual for a number of different reasons, but no one knew at the time that it would signal the end of an automobile manufacturing brand that had lasted over 100 years, and that was the Oldsmobile Aurora. The Oldsmobile Aurora was the flagship car for the Oldsmobile line, and it was very, very advanced for its design. It housed an 8-cylinder engine, which sat transversely in the front with a 4-speed automatic transmission, and it was optioned with leather interior, beautiful fit and trim, wonderful manufacturing features, and a very, very stylish design. Now, there's Dan pulling it up for us to take a look at, and you can see that this is a car that was not only advanced for its design, but the glasswork was very sophisticated for its time. The overall performance that it offered with the V8 engine and luxury-based sport suspension delivered a car that was really quite significant in terms of the amount that you would pay for it. It was competitive with the Cadillac, but it was a sporty car. And these cars, General Motors, they built quite a few of them. Over 200,000 of them were built over the period of time between 1994 and I believe they finished in 2003. So they built them for about a decade. And the second generation Oldsmobile is really a fantastic automobile to buy, which was, I believe, 99 or 2000 to 2003 or 2004, because it had a lot of very nice features. This is for all intents and purposes, a high-end luxury sedan that you can purchase today for very, very reasonable money. It is not loaded with a lot of sophisticated computer electronics.
No chip shortage there.
No chip shortage here. But these are cars that things like brakes and general service are not going to be exorbitantly expensive. And if you were to go out and purchase a vehicle like this, of this level standard, in new car purchase, you would spend anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000. And a good used one in very nice condition with low miles might set you back 10 to 15,000. So these are really good vehicles that you can purchase and enjoy for not a lot of money. And they are reliable, durable automobiles. They don't have big problems. There's no history of big problems. And most of them were owned by older couples that took very good care of them, garaged them indoors. And so you'll get a car that's in very good condition when it's all said and done. And you've got one there, Dan.
Now, this one's a 3.5, so it's the V6 model.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is actually quite cheap.
There you go.
$39.95. It's a 2001.
Yeah.
It's at 78,000 miles on it.
Now this is the V6, which
is the V6.
Not nearly as nice from a performance perspective, but for $4,000, this isn't a Toyota. This isn't a Camry where you've got roll-up windows and cloth seats. You've got a leather interior. You've got power steering, power disc brakes. You've got automatic transmission. This is a very, very high-end automobile from a luxury perspective, and the ride quality is very sophisticated. A V8 model with maybe a lot of options, as I said, might set you back $10,000. A very low mile one might tick up above the $10,000 mark. But these are four-door sedans that I think largely get ignored or forgotten. And there's quite a few of them out there to choose from. So if you do decide you want to get a nice premium luxury American-built sedan that you can drive and enjoy without spending significant amounts of money, the Oldsmobile Aurora is your pick.
Very nice. And I sold these for a short period of time. When I first moved to Los Angeles, or the second time I moved to Los Angeles, I sold cars at La Brea Chevrolet Oldsmobile. I think it was actually Chevy Buick Oldsmobile. And then they just were Chevrolet. I'm trying to remember, but I know they did have the Aurora there. Yeah. And the first time I sat in one, I was like, this could be a Lexus or a BMW. Like, absolutely. It was so well made. Yeah. It drove so nicely, and it was so much less expensive. And, they did 0% stuff on it, especially right after 9/11, 0% for 84 months. It was ridiculously cheap to buy one of these. And it is a great car.
Yeah.
And it's super fast. Wow. The V8.
Oh yeah.
And I think, isn't that also when they designed that quad 4 engine?
Yes.
Was back then. And that was a really fast engine for a 4-cylinder.
It was the engine that they used in that car. Actually, Shelby used in his Shelby concept vehicle, which ended up being a production vehicle. The Shelby, I think called the Shelby One, that he did in the 90s, which came with that same engine. Because Shelby did a deal with Oldsmobile at that time to do his specialty sports car, and it housed the engine that was used in the Oldsmobile Aurora. Now, people tend to forget that General Motors is one of the most significant engineering institutions in the world. They develop all kinds of amazing products. Not all of their products make it to production, but they do some pretty amazing things and have done amazing things in the automotive world.
Now, Ray has a very interesting question. and I actually have some background on this, so I can actually answer this one slightly okay. He asks, with diminished production of newer cars, he wonders, as a nation, how many cars do we lose yearly due to scrap and salvage of old and broken cars? How big is the imbalance? Do we lose 1 million and now we're only gaining 200,000? He has no clue. Ray, you have no clue. Just wanted to say that. So worldwide, I know, and this is from a Google search, that there are something like 27 million cars a year that are scrapped. It's a huge, huge number. But a lot of them are scrapped for the parts, obviously. My family, my dad's dad, my grandfather, I guess you could have said my grandfather, and his brother started a company called Rosenberg's Auto Recycling in like the 30s or 40s, where they were buying old scrap cars and dismantling them, and whatever parts were still good, they were selling as used auto parts, which was kind of a new industry back then, because if you needed a part, you went to the dealer, and the dealer is where you got your parts. Like, auto parts stores didn't even really exist. And then my dad sold new auto parts. In 1962, he started Leonard's Auto Supply, and he had that until pretty much 2012. I mean, the year he died was also the last year of his business. So he was at that point just driving around in a van selling to his old customers. He didn't have a store anymore. But according to CNBC, 17 million new cars were sold in 2019. Where there were 77.5 million passenger cars sold worldwide. So if you take the 27 million cars that are being taken off the market and 77.5 being sold, it's 50 million cars being added every year. So we have a lot of cars still around. And the Cash for Clunkers program that President Obama did happened right when we started doing cashforcars.com. It was literally the same month almost. And that was, the goal was to take 700,000 cars off the road, because they gave a $4,500 rebate,
right,
or $3,500, depending on how much fuel savings you got. Like if you bought a car that was getting 10 miles a gallon, I mean, you scrapped a car that was getting 10 miles a gallon, and you bought a car getting 20 miles a gallon, you got $4,500 for that other car.
Right.
So there were cars that were literally worth $100 that people were getting $4,500 for just to get it off the road. And that did kill a lot of cars, but that was only 700,000. I mean, it was a very small number of cars. So the imbalance, I don't think, is even going to be close. I think that even though there's so many new cars not being built, the amount of cars being scrapped every year is still smaller than the amount of cars being sold.
Most importantly, and it's a really good question, the level of car longevity has increased over time. That's a key feature of this equation. 30, 40 years ago, a car would deteriorate within 100,000 miles. Now, there are more cars on the road with over 100,000 miles that are still useful vehicles. And so they're sticking around longer, which reduces the rate in which they're being scrapped. And on top of that, worldwide production has increased dramatically to serve new markets. Markets in China and India and Africa have increased dramatically over the past 15, 20 years. And so automobiles are being manufactured to supply those areas. But also interesting is that the lower cost vehicles, the entry level vehicles now that may be able to achieve 100,000 miles, if they're damaged or in an accident, they're not worth fixing. So they immediately go into scrap. Their recycling qualities in newer low cost vehicles, you can recycle a new low cost vehicle much more quickly and more effectively than you can an older vehicle that requires a lot more separation of materials and parts, and a more aggressive impact to the downstream waste. There's a higher level of waste in older cars than there is in newer recyclable ones. So these things are impacting the way we recycle as well. And recycling takes a lot more time too. So we're not able to turn those old cars into new raw material as fast as we used to be able to. simply because we were carelessly doing it in the past. Now we're doing it more carefully. So that also impacts. I think over time, what we're going to see is that there will be a glut of manufacturing, and we'll have to contend with the management of that down the road.
Now, I pulled up some information. This is an old article. This is from the last crash of the auto industry from like 08, 09. And back then they were scrapping 14 million cars, but we only sold 10 million new cars. So that year there was a 4 million car discrepancy.
Yeah.
Now people are, like you said, people are keeping those cars longer.
Yeah.
So you still have accidents, although accidents have gone down quite a bit because of people not driving as much. Cars get totaled a lot easier because of the electronics.
Yep.
So I guess, Ray, I don't have a clue either, Ray, of an exact answer, but I think we're okay because no matter what, there's a car for, I mean, the average in California, it's like 2.5 cars for every person. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But right now it just depends on why the car ended. Like if it's just end of life and you just can't fix it anymore. Yeah. Well, but a lot of people are just putting new parts on and continuing.
And we can do some more research on this and cover it in next week's show.
We could do it. Oh my God, it's the end of the show already. Wow, that happened so quickly.
It does happen quickly.
Wow. Well, everybody, thank you. It's so nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
It's probably the most I've talked in an hour in the last week, the last 2 weeks. I did want to do the car of the week, which was our car. The auction ends on, we'll do this very quickly. Wednesday. The auction ends
25th
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that is for this particular car right here. It's only at $1,100. It's a very, very, and it's whatever it goes for, the market will decide what this car is worth.
That's a sporty wagon. It's a 5-speed manual, runs great, has, very nice cosmetics. This is a great car. If you have never driven a Saab, you'll be surprised. They're sporty. This is the turbo engine, great condition. This is just a fun car. It's not a perfect car, but it's a fun car, clean, tidy, nice interior, leather, I believe. Isn't that correct?
It is leather.
Yeah.
Sunroof works great. Brand new tires. Brakes were put on 3,000 or 4,000 miles ago. Brakes and rotors.
Yeah. There's a lot of car. A lot of car.
And, if it goes, I think it'll end in the 2s. Personally, I think that's where we'll end up by Wednesday.
Yeah.
But and then we'll find out what the next car we do is.
Yeah.
But I've never driven a Saab, and I really enjoy the Saab. It's got a lot of power, 2.3 turbo engine, and it only has 124,000 miles. And if you don't know anything about this car, you can watch the show from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And on that show, we went through a car wash and ripped the taillight right off.
Yes, we did.
And I did find a new old stock taillight. I believe it was $85 out of Indianapolis, I think, is where the guy shipped it from, maybe Ohio.
There you go.
It showed up early, and I will be installing it, so it'll have a brand new taillight. And
there you go.
And it's new old stock. I'm trying to find another one for the other side so they balance, but either way, it'll still work. And also, Ray did want you to know that the 2010, the Rare Vibe did finally sell.
Oh, it did sell.
Yes, I did look at it. It was really good. It was a great car, but it wouldn't work out perfectly for my mom because it needed a couple of little things like radio knobs. It's little simple things.
Hopefully the new owner.
He didn't care about the funky radio dial. Okay,
the new owner will get good vibes from it.
Perfect way to end the show on a dad joke. All right. We'll see you next week. If you have any questions, send them to us via Facebook at Clutch Radio Show. And until then, I've been Dan.
And I've been Raffi.
And this has been Clutch Radio. Bye.